Morgan, and today I decided I would make a video on tips for surviving solitary confinement. And this is inspired by Mr. Beast's recent video where he spent 7 days in solitary confinement, and I feel like I am definitely someone who is able to talk about this issue because I survived seclusion rooms. I have spent countless hours in them throughout my childhood, and they are the children's version of solitary confinement. It is when a disabled child is locked in a glorified closet, all by myself, instead of like having equal access to education and being able to learn things. No, I was just like secluded in a closet where I was left to my own devices, and it was not a pleasant experience. And a lot of the things that Mr. Beast was going through in that video just, it reminded me of memories I would prefer to repress and forget, but I found it cathartic to hear him going through what I have gone through. So my tips would be, first of all, start making things up in your mind. Just start coming up with stories in your brain. Think of something. Think of being anywhere else but where you are. Like, one of the hardest things is the fact that it's like, okay, first of all, one of the hardest things is realizing that if there's a fire, I'm screwed. And that's something that I felt like really strongly. One of the things that made me think I need to make this video is Mr. Beast talking about that. Like, if there was a fire, like, his friends wouldn't be able to get him out in time probably. And I'm like, yes, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. And so it's like, do not allow yourself to think about all the things that could go wrong, because there is nothing you can do. It's completely out of your power. So just think about being anywhere else but where you are. Do not think about the present. There's nothing you can do. And one of the hardest things is realizing that I'm completely 100% powerless in that situation. There's nothing I can do to change things. There's nothing I can do to change the situation. So it's like, at that point, don't even bother thinking about the present. Don't be in the present. Be somewhere else. So escape into your mind. Come up with make-believe stories. Come up with imaginary friends. I know that those are things that people might think, oh, that's crazy, la da 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 da. That is a luxury. Like, caring about what people think is a luxury. That it's like, if you are in a situation when there's no one around to talk to, what's it frickin' matter what other people think of you? What's it matter what other people think of you? They are not there with you to judge you at that time. So just escape somewhere else in your mind. So if you have a favorite story, think about that. Imagine your favorite video game. Imagine your favorite TV show, your favorite book series, or your own imaginary world. Just think about those thoughts, trying to escape into some imaginary other place in your mind to try and get through that time, because it's easier to just disassociate, because otherwise you're going to be stuck dealing with the feelings of abandonment, the feelings of like, what happens if there's a fire? Like, it's not, like, it's just not worth it to think about being in the present. It's much better to escape in your brain to somewhere else. Don't be afraid to stim. Like, do not be afraid to do things like rock back and forth or make floppy hands or whatever, because no one's there to judge you anyway. Like, I know Mr. Beast had all those cameras watching him, but it's like, how is caring about what people think gonna help you? Like, it's not. If you're trapped in a situation by yourself like that, it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. No one's coming to save you. I feel like I have a lot of trust issues in life. But yeah, it's like, if there's no one coming to save you, so don't bother caring about what people think. All you have to do is, like, the only thing that you're doing is trying to make life bearable until such a time as you are able to somehow escape. And the morbid thing is that for a lot of people who are in like solitary confinement, it's like that escape might be them dying, which is really screwed up. But for me as a child, it was until the end of the school day. You only have to make it through like 2 more hours, 1 more hour, 45 more minutes, 15 more minutes. It's like, do anything to keep your mind preoccupied until such a time as you can leave. Which I think for Mr. Beast was obviously harder because he didn't know how much time there was left. I mean, I didn't either, but his amount of time was much longer. It's harder to calculate like to guesstimate how long 7 days is going to be versus 3 hours or 4 hours. So yeah, I would say just the main thing is to focus on anything other than where you're at the present moment in time. If you're ever stuck in a situation like that, it's just trying to make things bearable until you're able to leave. I don't know. I feel like this is something that's a very morbid, like a very morbid thing to talk about. It's very hard to talk about. And another thing that like Mr. Beast is very lucky that he had is that he had access to water and he had access to a toilet. Whereas for me, I didn't have access to either of those things. So there were issues with like me naturally not drinking enough. So that leads to issues with dehydration. And then that also led to the fact that I would purposely like not drink as much water as I needed because I didn't want to have to run to the bathroom. Like because there was nowhere to go to the bathroom in the seclusion rooms, it's like, okay, I either have to hold it or pee my pants. And that's not, like, I think people need to understand that this is something that is still happening to disabled children today in the schools, the public school system, at least in America. But yeah, so I think he actually had it in some ways harder than people like me do or did, but he also had it in other ways easier. And that he did have access to like indoor plumbing. Like he had access to adequate water, he had access to the toilet. So I think he had it a lot easier than a lot of disabled kids to this day do. Yep. Sorry to ramble. The only other thing I can think to say is, this is kind of off topic, but I think it's the Satanic Temple specifically has a project where they're trying to end the use of solitary confinement, seclusion, and restraint in public schools. So I would say to really consider looking into that if you are in a situation where you are actively a victim of seclusion rooms to this day. And otherwise, I guess, to really raise awareness about this issue, because I feel like a lot of times people aren't aware that solitary confinement is happening to children in the school systems. But I really think that Mr. Beast talking about like demonstrating what solitary confinement is like on a longer term and a longer scale to an adult, like I think that really helps to raise awareness of this overall issue of the effects of solitary confinement and how how hard it was on him as someone who is an able-bodied adult. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this issue. And I'm sorry for rambling, but I really appreciate that you sat through this video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!